There's a world epidemic right now. I'm sure most of you know about it, and I'm committed to sharing information about it because it's just something that I can do, and that is to bring awareness to addiction. Let me assure you that everything you've ever been taught about addiction is probably wrong. And for that reason, I want to bring awareness to this world epidemic because somebody you know and love has probably been affected by this disease, this problem, and many people worldwide are dying from it. So I want to share some scientific studies that were done. In one group, the scientists took these mice and they isolated them each in a cage. And for their water, they gave them just plain water and then heroin-laced water. And within a certain amount of time, all the mice that were alone in their cages moved to the heroin-laced water, and they became so sick that they died. Okay, so then the scientists took another group of mice and they put them all in this this big cage with all kinds of fun activities, with a lot of other mice, fun things to do. They could have sex anytime they wanted, and they had 2 water spigots coming out in those cages. One was just water, and the other one was heroin-laced water. Well, guess what? None of those mice drank from the heroin water, even though it was available to all of them. There was a third study then. They said, well, let's look at this a little further, okay? So they put these isolated mice in a cage alone with both the water and waited, I think it was 45 days. I could be wrong. But they waited until those mice became totally addicted to the heroin, and then they moved those mice, those addict mice, over to the fun cage where they had all kinds of different interaction with mice, and they also allowed them to have the water and the heroin-laced water. Well, guess what? Those addicted mice, 95% no longer used the heroin. They only drank from the water. Now, what does that study tell us? Well, obviously we're different than mice, right? Humans are different than mice. But the one thing I want you to gain from this is what they're finding, and this, by the way, was taken from a book called Chasing the Scream. And there's been all kinds of studies done. He's done TED Talks, JoHann, I forgot his last name. But Chasing the Scream, and what the common denominator here is addicts need to be connected, okay? They need to be connected. So it's so contra to what we feel, because when we meet an addict, we're so angry at them for messing up their lives. We want to just throw them to the curb, right? We don't understand them. We're like, just quit doing that already. Well, it's not that easy, but the thing that will help is surrounding them with being connected to people who care, being connected in some kind of way to give them purpose, to give them a life worthy of living. Only then are the addicts going to quit using. So, but we can't do that by ourselves. They can't do that by themselves, can they? That's why it takes a village. It takes you. And I'm passionately bringing this to you today because you might think you can't help, but you can. You can, and all it takes is learning how to connect. Learning how to connect on a human level and reaching out and maybe even learning more about the disease so that you know how to connect. God bless and make it a great week.